This week on the PRESSURECAST, Sega announces their first Nintendo NX title, Valve shuts down Counter-Strike gambling sites, and No Man's Sky is accused of theft. It's Monday, July 25th, 2016. Everything happening in the world of video games is here, now, on the PRESSURECAST. Hey, Pressure Pals, welcome to the 140th episode of the PRESSURECAST, VideoGamesAreDumb.com's weekly news panic that posts every single Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music, and America's longest running independent newspaper at ShepherdExpress.com. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'm caffeinated and ready to ramble to you about some gosh darn video games. But in case you've never listened to the PRESSURECAST before, I don't believe anyone out there on the planet Earth hasn't listened to the PRESSURECAST in one way or another, but in case you haven't, you strange alien being who is probably receiving some sort of transmitted waves across the galaxy, in case you've never listened to the show before, each week the PRESSURECAST slices up the latest video game news, past, present, and future, and slices it up into several sensational segments and puts it right in your ears in 2 hours or less. If you would like to contact the show, you can email pressurecast@gmail.com. You can tweet at PressureCastPod with the hashtag PressureCast, or you can even call or text your questions 954-947-7377, and you'll hear your comment, question, or possibly even a concern on air. We do have one voicemail later in the show, and it's a good one, so you want to stay tuned for that. But of course, we have to start off. The train. The train is coming. You hear those toots? That's the train coming. Boop, boop. I told you. That's right. It's time for the hype train. Feel the PR vibrations as we barrel towards video game satisfaction station on the hype train. This is the part of the show we talk about all those upcoming video games to get you hyped up to spend all your money and become a video game guru. We are going to start off with a lot of release dates. A lot of announcements happened this week, and we now have the confirmed release date for the Xbox One S. Of course, this is the smaller Xbox with a built-in power supply and also has HDR in case you have an HDR TV. They have announced that the 2 terabyte model, which is $400, will be released on August 2nd. What about the 500 gigabyte or 1 terabyte model? Well, you're going to have to wait a bit longer. They currently say it's going to be out in December 2016. I'm going to assume that's a placeholder. They probably want to be out before Black Friday. Just saying, if you want to sell a console, maybe put it out before the biggest shopping day of the year. Just an idea. So that's basically the entire news right there. But you might be asking yourself, wait, what's going on? Did you say they released the 2 terabyte model in August and we don't have a release date for the cheaper ones? Why not? Well, I imagine it's because, if you look at a shelf right now of Xbox One, let's say you put the Xbox One S, the 2 terabyte, $400 model on the shelf, right? And then you've got the 1 terabyte, and then you've got the 500 gigabytes, and then you have the old original Xbox One. It doesn't look so good, does it? So by having the 2 terabyte model, the more expensive model, on the shelf next to the older model, it might increase some people to pick up those older Xbox Ones because, hey, they've got to sell them. I imagine they're not going to continue production on the old Xbox One for much longer. So it just makes more sense because, let's face facts, the $500 Xbox One S is going to be $300, the exact same price as that big VCR-shaped device. That's not too good, is it? So it makes sense in the long run. Toot, toot. Oh, God, we have to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog this week. I'm sorry, we actually do. Sega had a live stream event, which was pretty amusing in its own right. Lots of audio spikes and people cheering at weird times. It was a room full of Sonic fans. What are you going to do? And before you get mad, you're like, I like Sonic. Look. If you were willing to take the time out of your day to go to an event for Sonic, you are a different level than the average Sonic fan. I'm just saying. I can't believe, how'd they get a room full of Sonic fans? Who's left that still likes Sonic? I know you're getting mad at me. Chill. I'll explain. They have announced a brand new game called Sonic Mania. It's kind of like WrestleMania and Beatlemania for Sonic. Well, how new is it exactly? It's sort of a hodgepodge of some new zones, some new levels, and levels seen in previous games from, the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic CD. I always forget to mention Sonic CD. Shame on me. That's a great game. Well, it's going to be developed by Pagoda West Games. I practiced that. I actually practiced saying that name before I started recording. They've only really worked on mobile games. I went to their website. They worked on something called Circle Frenzy. Nothing that's too popular, but they have developed at least 3 mobile games in the past. And of course, Christian Whitehead, an individual who's worked on a lot of ports for Sonic titles onto mobile devices. He's also worked on his own Sonic fan games, alongside Simon Tomley are going to be working on this. According to Sonic Team's, I told you, I practiced these names ahead of time, Takashi Izuka, he says, Sonic Mania was born out of our fans' love of the classic 2D Sonic platform games. This type of collaboration is a first for Sega, and we hope everyone will be both surprised and delighted by this title. Sonic Mania has been a passion project for the entire team, and we look forward to sharing more details about it later this year. Having the game actually playable at the event itself was a testament to the dedication of the team behind it. They did have it playable on the floor, and I did see some gameplay, and I'll be honest, it looked pretty darn good. Graphically, it looks a lot smoother than the old titles, and they have a really good intro screen, where they used to have that little ring where Sonic would pop his head out. It looks amazing. He spins around, he's all smiling. Good looking stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I just... like, the idea when they say classic Sonic is back, we're listening to the fans. This is the same old message Sonic fans have been hearing for over a decade. And I brought this up, and I've heard people go, oh, whatever, people are just mindless drones believing in that Sonic cycle. Look, guys, I hate to break it to you, but the Sonic cycle existed well before anyone called it the Sonic cycle. If you were a Sega fan growing up, which I am, I saw my Sega Genesis today. I can see my Sega Saturn from here. I know my Dreamcast is behind me. I loved Sega growing up, and I loved Sonic. I love Sonic 2. I love Sonic 3. Sonic 1 and Sonic Knuckles I'm not a huge fan of, but I respect the titles in their own way. And obviously Sonic CD is fantastic, but personally my favorite is Sonic 3. I don't care if people say, oh, it's kind of an unfinished title. I don't know. I think it's awesome. But the idea of like, oh no, we're gonna go back to the roots. We're gonna repackage these old levels and add some new ones. Get excited. Why? Why would that be exciting? You can already play Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles on like everything. Everything. PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, your phone. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on Ouya. It's on the modern consoles. It's on PC. It's on... well, it's even on, like, the Sega Dreamcast, they actually re-released those games. And even the Sega Saturn, I believe they re-released those games. There, you can go anywhere and play Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic CD was a different story. That took a little bit longer to release. But that's stuff we've already experienced. That's not really bringing the franchise forward. And I know longtime Sonic fans are like, this Christian Whitehead guy, he's amazing. Well, I mean, he mostly worked in porting things, porting games to other systems, or, remixing these stages as fan games. I don't feel like that's anything to get really excited about. And I don't even think the gameplay itself looks all that enticing. It just looks like the old Sonic games, which, it's the old Sonic games. You can download those elsewhere. As for the music, though, I thought the music was really, really catchy, and I love the intro screen, but I just, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. You're like, yeah, it's finally happening. I mean, it's been happening. They do this ever so often, and it's like, oh, it's Sonic Generations. Classic Sonic is back, or, oh, Sonic Heroes, because, oh, you didn't like Sonic Adventure 2. And yeah, go back and play those original Sonic Adventure games. They're not super great. As for the demo that they mentioned, where it was getting a bunch of, really rave reviews, What do you expect? It was a room full of Sonic fans. Like I said, they were willing to spend the entire evening dedicated to Sonic, to going to an event for Sonic. Of course they're going to like it. And besides that, you know, the Sonic games in general have a long history of having fantastic demos and really lackluster games. Case in point, let's start off with Sonic Adventure, the very, very first one. Look at that demo. Sonic is running for his life while a whale is just destroying like all these beach platforms behind him. It looks amazing. The actual game, you're going to spend time fishing. You're going to walk around some cities and talk to people, and you're going to play as Knuckles hunting down gems and waiting for the screen to beep at just the right amount of time. It's, You know, you look at Sonic Unleashed. Fantastic demo. You go and actually play the game, you got a werehog with stretchy arms, he's a goofy Gus. No one wants to play that. And then, you know, even Sonic Generations, which is the absolute best console Sonic game since, I don't know, Sonic and Knuckles, and half of the game isn't that good. Those 3D stages are really rough. The demo itself was just the 2D stages. Oh yeah, and I even forgot, what about Sonic 4? Remember episode 1 and 2 of that? Taking Sonic back to its roots. Don't fall for this. I feel like a crazy person, because I feel like everyone should know this, and I'm sure there's people listening that are just nodding their heads going, well, yeah. But there are people out there that don't believe it. They go, oh, people just hating on Sonic. People just trying to bring down Sonic again. Anyway, moving on, of course, they had another announcement, which was that in holiday 2017, a brand new Sonic the Hedgehog game will be released on the Nintendo NX, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. You know what's interesting about this is that the previous Sonic games, Sonic Boom and Sonic Lost Worlds, were exclusive to the Wii U, and there was also a 3DS version of those games. Neither of them were very good, but it appears that relationship with Nintendo is changing because they have two titles they're coming out with. Neither are exclusive to Nintendo. But the funny news is they actually have another Sonic game coming out this fall, Sonic Fire and Ice, or it's called Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, on the 3DS. What's the quality of that game? Well, they didn't have any of these announcements after that game came out. I'll just leave it there. But seriously, when I look at Sega right now, I have no idea what they're doing. I do not know what their direction is when it comes to consoles. When it comes to the company as a whole, it's quite obvious. They're going to PC. They are moving to PC. And when it comes to, you know, little niche console games like Yakuza, which are big in Japan but not big in the West, or Persona, which has a real shot at becoming something huge, but is also very affordable to make because it's a very small team that works on a game for like 5 or 6 years. That makes sense to me. But then I see these other things like, oh, we're going to make 2 Sonic games. We're making this fan game, and then we're going to make this big, elaborate, next-gen title. Good luck. I mean, really, good luck, because the track record is not there. It's horrible. I mean, the track record is there, and it's very, very bad. Sonic has not been good for 22 years. And it's been going back to its roots for longer than it was at its roots. You know what I mean? Like from 1991 to like 1995, it was like a 5-year span. It's been 22 years of we're taking it back, kids. We're bringing back what you like. And they never, ever, ever, ever do it. Seriously, go back and play Sonic Generations. 3D stages, not very good. Toot, toot. Well, speaking of repackaging, we have Rise of the Tomb Raider coming to the PlayStation 4 on October 11th. It will be 30 frames per second. It will be in 1080p. And this, of course, is the game that was an Xbox One exclusive, released last holiday season. Fantastic title. All right, I want to make this very clear. If they did nothing to this game except for port it to the PlayStation 4, if it was identical to the Xbox One version, that'd be worth it. I'd say that's absolutely worth it. You absolutely owe it to yourself to play this game. But they're not just doing that. They are adding so many bonus features, including a PlayStation VR game that involves you exploring the Lara Croft mansion. I guess they had to do something. Why not? Whatever, it's an extra. That doesn't actually matter. There's even a 2-player mode. This is from their press release. 2 players must team up to survive the harsh elements by day, as well as lethal threats from enemies by night. Fire takes fuel, food restores health, and every resource must be hunted, collected, or crafted. The hunting and crafting system in this game is so good. I loved hunting in Rise of the Tomb Raider. At first, I felt really bad for the happy little woodland creatures, but by the end, I'm like, nah, I got a shotgun. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Also, they have revealed that they're going to have a premium DLC called Blood Ties, which is going to involve a zombie horde mode, also taking place in the Lara Croft mansion. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches right there. Even if all of the extras suck, even if they're all terrible, this game is worth the wait. I cannot wait for more people to have the opportunity to try this out. It sold pretty well on the Xbox One. It was one of the best games of 2015. So when this comes out this fall, you'll definitely want to check this out. I'll have more to say about Rise of the Tomb Raider coming to the PlayStation 4 in the thank you for the email segment, because Keon called in and had a question about it, so stay tuned for that. Toot toot. Speaking of more re-releases, Dead Rising 1 and Dead Rising 2 are coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. The very first Dead Rising was an exclusive on the Xbox 360, although, now that I say it out loud, there was a Wii version called Chop Till You Drop, which was awful, just an awful port. But it wasn't, the original was an Xbox 360 exclusive. The sequel, of course, came to the PlayStation 4 and the PC. The PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the PC. And then there was also Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, which reintroduced Frank West, the protagonist from the first game, into the story of the second game. They have not announced this port of Dead Rising 2 and Off the Record coming to PC, which basically means we're just getting the PC versions of those games, which I am totally fine with, because the thing about the first Dead Rising, and even Dead Rising 2, and definitely portions of Off the Record, the frame rate was all over the place. In the very first Dead Rising, you could go into this underground tunnel and drive a car and hit like thousands of zombies, and the frame rate would feel like it was going at full stops. It was very, very, very bad. When it came to Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, they introduced this amazing new amusement park. Tons of fun to play in, but it was noticeably choppier than the other sections of the game. So by porting this over to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and, I guess PC in some ways, you're going to improve a lot of that performance. These games are great. You're essentially, it's essentially like Majora's Mask meets a 3D beat-em-up meets Left 4 Dead. Just tons and tons and tons of fun. So many weapons you can craft that are just the stupidest things ever, like a super soaker into a flamethrower, or a bucket that's full of drills that you can put on a zombie's head and it just drills its head off. Lots of leveling up, getting new abilities. These are classics. I played Dead Rising 2 Off the Record right before E3 because I knew they were going to announce Dead Rising 4. Held up perfectly. Speaking of which, I guess what happened to Dead Rising 3? Is that going to be coming to PlayStation 4? Huh. Worth thinking about. Toot toot. Gravity Rush 2 will be released this year in North America on September 2nd. This, of course, is the second Gravity Rush game. The very first one was released as a Vita exclusive, and then this year, actually, they re-released it on the PlayStation 4 as Gravity Rush Remastered. I'm a little worried about this sequel, not from terms of quality, because the first game proved that the team behind it had a lot of ideas. I'm more concerned about how it's going to sell. September 2nd, we're getting into the fall season. We don't exactly know what else is going to be out around then, but it's going to be a very busy year. And when kids have the opportunity to play some game where they're blowing off an alien's head with a shotgun, or playing as a magical girl that can fly, they're probably going to go for the alien shotgun scenario. If you have not had a chance to play the original Gravity Rush, I do recommend the PlayStation 4 version of the game. It's so charming, some of the best music I've ever heard. You're just flying around these European-esque towns, and there's just a sense of freedom. Cat basically just controls gravity, so you're not really flying so much as you're reorienting gravity so that you'll fall in a direction, so you can fall to the left or fall to the right or fall up into the sky. I did an episode of Worth It on it. You can check that out. I think it does a pretty good job explaining the mechanics and why I enjoy the game. Never mind. Wait, that episode is pretty bad. I put a bunch of pretentious references in there, and I mispronounced the name. Whatever. Let's move on. Toot toot. Dragon Quest Builders will be coming to America and on October 11th. I was going to say in America and Vita, because of course this is coming to the PlayStation 4 and Vita. Like I was saying before, I was worried about Gravity Rush 2 getting lost in the shuffle, but I'm not so worried about this because it's a Dragon Quest, which there's a niche audience for here in the States, but it's coming to Vita, and it's basically the Vita game of the fall by default because there's so few of them actually coming to store shelves, and Vita collectors, they love their physical copies. I've heard nothing but just great things about this game. A lot of people were playing it at E3, and they came away surprised. It's basically a big-time crafting game. I believe there's also a little bit of world building. I mean, it's called Dragon Quest Builders, so probably. But it looks great. All the preview coverage has been fantastic, and it's coming to the Vita. What more do you want? Toot toot. Injustice 2 has revealed 2 new characters. Of course, this is the DC-based fighting game from NetherRealm Studios, the team behind Mortal Kombat, and of course, the very first Injustice Gods Among Us. The new characters are Wonder Woman. Pretty predictable. In fact, I thought they already announced her. I mean, really? They're going to make a Justice League movie and have her in Batman vs. Superman, but not put her in this game? It was a given. But the other character, which I am very excited for, is Blue Beetle. And this is what I love about DC compared to Marvel, is that it has it has more history to it. And whereas Marvel started off as just being a single universe, the Fantastic Four can hang out with Spider-Man, can hang out with the Hulk, everyone can interact. That wasn't exactly the case for DC. Obviously, they created the Justice League, and that's when they started merging the universes. But a lot of these characters were created as independent elements and then just thrown together. And Blue Beetle is just one of my favorites. He actually was created way, way back in 1939. I thought he came from Charleston Comics, but no, he was all the way back in 1939, a year after Superman was created. Basically, he was, he's a detective. He's basically like a friendlier version of Batman. But that's only one version, I should say, because the Blue Beetle has had tons and tons and tons of different origin stories. Basically, the name has survived, but the character has changed drastically over the years. They're using the most recent incarnation of Blue Beetle. But yeah, I don't know. Blue Beetle, you should really look him up. He was best friends with the Question in DC Comics. Now that I say that out loud, you could always include the Question in Injustice 2. Come on, I'll be your best friend. Loves me some Steve Ditko. Get Mr. A in there. Why not? These are deep cuts, kids. Toot, toot. Speaking of comic books, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 are coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC tomorrow, Tuesday. Yes, really. They announced that you can get one of the games for $40 or both for $60. Not exactly the best deal in the world, but considering that these are basically dungeon crawlers in the vein of Diablo with a ton of Marvel characters, including ones that, aren't so obvious. You want to play as Moon Knight? You can. I mean, really, that's pretty badass. They also will have online co-op play, so there's, if you're looking for a dungeon crawler, these games hold up really well. Now, you might be asking yourself, why not the games that came out before? The X-Men Legend titles. Well, Marvel and Fox aren't the best of buddies. Yeah, they're working on things with Spider-Man, but, technically Fox still has the film rights to X-Men, and they might even be making a TV show. So Marvel doesn't really want to promote that because they're not going to make that much money off of it. But having the opportunity to play as Captain America and Spider-Man and Iron Man all in one game, it's perfect. Of course, this is well before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so if the characters don't seem exactly like their film incarnations, there's a reason. Toot, toot. And here is, I would say, the biggest news story of the week. Ubisoft has announced a brand new version of Uno. That's right. I'm going to give you a second there, because I know your minds are blown. I know your minds are blown. Take a second, just breathe deep. All right, good. I'll read the rest of the news now. It's actually going to be out on August 9th. I know. That's so soon. Why didn't they give us more time to prepare and take vacation time off of work and say goodbye to our families, loved ones, so we could spend all month playing nothing but Uno on our consoles and PCs? Here's the thing. They are actually going to be bringing back video chat, which which exists on the Xbox 360 version, video chat was used and abused on the Xbox 360 version. If you want to see people doing drugs, if you want to see some dude whip out his dong in the middle of Uno, you can finally do that on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Ubisoft is making Uno. UnoSoft. Toot toot. Nvidia has revealed their brand new incarnation of their Titan graphics cards. The Titan X graphics cards. The brand new one is going to have 12 gigabytes of GDDR5X video RAM. That's the same type of RAM that you'll find in their brand new 1080s and 1070s. And of course, you're going to be paying about $100 a gigabyte, meaning it's going to be $1,200. Is that overpriced? Yeah. Will people buy it? Yes. Some people will buy it. I know a lot of people get up in arms whenever they see the Titan X, like, who would waste their money? There are better ways to do this. Let me take you all the way back to the 90s. Let's get in the time machine. I know we're not in strong history yet, the segment that's at the end of the show, but hear me out. This is the Neo Geo of video cards. It's a boutique item. It's not intended to compete really with their other cards. This is for a very select audience that has a very select purpose, and that's fine. It's no big deal. Am I going to buy one? I'm going to buy 5. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to buy any of them. But it's just, why not? Let people enjoy things. It's okay. It's not for us. And before you write your little thing about like, this is why I don't play on PC, because it's $1,200 for a video card. That's baloney. And you know it. Baloney talkers. Toot, toot. Speaking of crazy expensive hardware, Microsoft has revealed that the Gears of War 4 Elite Xbox One controller will be released, they're having pre-orders start on July 20th. The controller will be out on October 11th. It's going to cost $50 more than your average Xbox One Elite controller. Now, don't get me wrong, the Xbox One Elite controller is also a boutique item. It's crazy expensive, $150, but it knows its audience. Maybe you're playing on PC, maybe you're playing on your Xbox One, you like bouncing back and forth, you like having the right amount of tightness on the sticks, you like having those back bumper things that they use, they're like mouse clicks. That's cool. $150, I get it. And this Gears of War controller looks fantastic. Great paint job. Absolutely wonderful. But it's $200. Are there really that many Gears of War fans? Are there really that many hardcore Gears of War fans? I don't know. And here's the thing. If somebody comes over to your house and you're like, let's play some split screen. Oh, hey, can I use your Gears of War controller? You're going to say no. You're going to say that's going to be $25 if you want to borrow my controller for the evening. You're going to try and make some money back on that investment. Holy crap. Toot, toot. Xbox One now has 8 more Xbox 360 backwards compatible games. Here they are. Sonic the Hedgehog 4, episodes 1 and 2, Fret Nice, Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, Crystal Defenders, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, Capcom Arcade Cabinet, Pac-Man Museum, Half Minute Hero Super Mega Neo Climax, Flock, and Tour de France 2009. So think about that. We got Neo Geo Battle Coliseum and Capcom Arcade Cabinets. Re-releases of old games are now being re-released through backwards compatibility. That's pretty meta. But I think this confirms something. When Microsoft announced backwards compatibility, they said, we'll take whatever. If a developer and a publisher agree that we can release it as a backwards compatible game, we'll do it. Do you need any further evidence of that policy than Tour de France 2009? I mean, really? They've released, 7 more Tour de France's since Tour de France 2009. Microsoft will take anything and make it backwards compatible. So whenever you say, well, man, why doesn't Microsoft release this? They would. Clearly they would. They'll release anything. Toot, toot. According to Synox, the creators of Rocket League, their vice president, Jeremy Dunham, has said Sony is holding up cross-play across all platforms. Now, for a few months now, we've been hearing about how the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC version of Rocket League could all play together in one large online environment. But exactly how long would that take to set up? Well, according to Jeremy, we can, in less than a business day, turn it on and have it up and working no problem. It literally take a few hours to propagate through the whole world. So really, we're just waiting on the permission to do so. It could be tomorrow, it could be longer than that. We just don't know. We're anxiously awaiting that, just like the rest of our fans. So what's the holdup? Why won't Microsoft let this happen? Oh, they would. They already said, cool, yeah, go for it. Well, what about PC players? Why won't they let this happen? Well, they actually have no say in it. Synox can do whatever they want with their servers. So they've already said, yep, we're ready. Let's do this. Why is Sony holding this up? I mean, what's the point of that? And Sony even points this out. I love this. They released a statement on it about cross-network support. Here's what they said. We would be happy to have the conversation with any publisher or developers who are interested in cross-platform play. PlayStation has been supporting cross-platform play between PC and several software titles, starting with Final Fantasy XI on the PlayStation 2 and PC back in 2002. So what's the holdup? Well, here's the thing. Sony has accumulated the largest player base on the current generations. Why would they share that? Why would they ever want to share that? If you own an Xbox One, your buddy owns a PlayStation 4, do they really want you to play together, or do they want you to buy a PlayStation 4? The answer is simple. Would I like to see cross-platform support? Hell yeah, why not? I want to be able to crush more people in Rocket League because I'm the best Rocket League player in the world. But do I understand why Sony's like holding up this idea? Absolutely. They don't want to share. They can't believe it. They're actually winning this generation. They have no interest in sharing the wealth. I doubt this will happen. And if it does, I'll eat my words. Not literally. I'm not going to write it on a piece of paper and chew up the words on camera and cry because the ink fumes are giving me a headache. No. I'll just say, hey, I was wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It won't happen this year. And I don't think it'll happen next year either, at the very least. Toot, toot. Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 has officially been revealed. We saw it leaked on the Korean ratings boards. It was mentioned there. We finally have some information on here. They have boss ghosts now, giant ghosts, which apparently you can destroy. They cover up a portion of the screen and you have to avoid them. You can actually create 4 separate ghost trains to follow you, which is amazing. I should start over. In case you've never played Pac-Man Championship Edition, the way it works is it looks just like Pac-Man, except the more pellets you eat, the faster you go. Once you eat all the pellets, more pellets appear, and you have to escape. You have to move past sleeping ghosts. When you pass them, they wake up and they start following you, which creates this elaborate chain of ghosts following you in every direction, and they can almost fill up the entire screen. Then you eat a power pellet, and you turn around, and you just start eating every single ghost, and it starts going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, and all these numbers are flying on the screen, and there's this audio that's just going ding 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 ding. I'm telling you, Pac-Man Championship Edition, which is backwards compatible on the Xbox One, is one of the best games I've ever played. Am I a little worried about what they're doing here? You know, is this too busy? Yeah, I'm a little worried, but the very first game is so good. I'm willing to give them a chance. You know, it's too good to pass up. And even if it turns out to suck, who cares? The very first game will always be there. I'm just happy to have more Pac-Man Championship Edition. Even if you don't like Pac-Man, do yourself a favor, sit down with that game, play it for 5 minutes. I guarantee you're going to be made a fan. Okay. Gary Busey. He is a very famous actor who was in a motorcycle accident and hasn't been the same since. I think he was also in Celebrity Rehab on television. What a classy era of American television that was. Celebrity Rehab. Well, now he's in the world of Hitman. Yes, the downloadable Hitman games have announced, well, they didn't announce it, but Square Enix has announced that Gary Busey will be taking on the role as an elusive target. This is going to be wrapping up on Thursday, so you might want to hurry up and try and kill Gary Busey. In case you don't know, the way that an elusive target works is that it's based around a timer, in this case 7 days, which is a lot longer than usual. They usually only give you 48 hours to kill the elusive target. You have one opportunity to kill them, okay? You can back out of the mission, and you're fine. You have to find the exit in the mission and leave, and you can do it over again. But if you die in this mission, that's it. You lost your opportunity. You can't kill the elusive target. Which honestly, I have to say, I do take some issue with what they've done here by including Gary Busey. The world of Hitman is pretty, I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but it's slightly realistic. Just, you know, slightly. The very idea that anything or anyone could kill Gary Busey? Yeah, right. Never going to happen. Stupid Square Enix. Toot toot. We have the games that are going to be coming out this week. Yesterday, on Sunday, Quadrilateral Cowboy was released on the PC. Quadrilateral Cowboy. I don't know how to pronounce the name of this game, but I am absolutely 110% going to purchase it and play it. I probably will not do an episode of Worth It on it. I adore the games that have come from this creator before. It's from Blendo Games. I forget the name of the creator himself, but he worked on a game called 30 Flights of Loving, one of my all-time favorite games. And it's only like 15 minutes long. That game blew my mind. It's so good. It really shows you the potential in the quote-unquote walking simulators, how you can tell a story without using language, instead using pacing and editing. I don't want to spoil anything. Just sit down, spend the money, play that game. It's only 15 minutes long. It's very, very good. And he also has this very first game included in that package. So you really get two 15-minute games for, $5. Highly recommend those, and cannot wait to play that. Fairy Fencer F, Advent Dark Force will be released on PlayStation 4. This is a remake of the very first Fairy Fencer F. I've never been a huge fan of that series, but maybe I'll take a look at it. Chumbara is coming to the PlayStation 4. Headlander is coming to the PC and PlayStation 4, which is that Double Fine, crazy-looking indie game. I'm definitely going to be playing that. Is it getting an episode of Worth It? We'll have to wait and see. Shinren the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, and the Dice of Fates will be released on the Vita. This is, of course, the fifth Shinren the Warrior. I'm not pronouncing it right. I know. I'm sorry. But this game was released way back in 2010 on the DS, and from the looks of the screenshots, they haven't done much to update it. I know they're adding a few extra dungeons, but whatever. Early access on the Xbox One. We Happy Few is coming this week, which, of course, was the most Googled or most looked up game during the E3 press conferences. It does look fantastic. Many people just compared it to BioShock. The creator has stated, this is nothing like BioShock. This is more of a survival game. Long story short, you're under mind control in a 1960s dystopia in like London. It looks great. AW Phoenix Festa will be released on the Vita. Riptide GP Renegade will be released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. This game is already out on phones. That should tell you everything you need to know about the quality. Hyper Light Drifter is coming to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I'm definitely going to take a look at this. Will you get a video out of it? We'll have to wait and see. Laser Disco Defenders is going to be out on the Vita and PlayStation 4. And Blade Arcus from Shining Battle Arena will be released on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3. Boop, boop. That's going to do it for the hype train. We have a lot to get to in the show. We have to talk about all the anniversaries 10 years ago and beyond in strong history. We have to take your questions, and thank you for the email. We got to talk about the idiot of the week. We got to talk about mobile and handhelds and Pocket Talk. And we have to talk about all the legal, business, and financial news in the Chart Park. And we will do so right after this. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've been paying attention to the news, and let me tell you, it's been a very rough 2016. It can be hard to find the good things in life. But trust me, I have a way. I have a way to make you feel better and to help other people in the process. That's right. Go to iTunes and give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review. What's that, you say? I haven't done that yet. That sounds amazing. That's right. You go to iTunes, you give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review, and I guarantee you, your life is just going to get better. The world is going to get better. The universe is going to get better. How can I be so sure of this? Because I've seen the difference in others' lives. As soon as they hit 5 stars and type out a paragraph about how much they love this show, let me tell you, they lose weight. They find that they have more fulfilling relationships. And, I know money isn't everything, but yeah, they start pulling in a little more dough every single year. This could be you. This is your chance. Go to iTunes and give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Get out your lunch boxes, get out the flip-flops, maybe even bust out the shorts. We're going to a place that's always warm with the glow of cold hard cash. That's right, it's time for the Chart Park, the land where money grows on trees. Yes, the Chart Park. This is the part of the show we talk about all the legal, business, and financial news in the video game industry, and we find out which fat cats of Wall Street will tip their top hats towards Lady Luck. Did I say Wall Streets? I guess that's the new name of it. We are going to start off with the ongoing story involving CSGO Lotto, the very controversial story that involved a multitude of YouTubers promoting gambling sites on their videos without disclosing the fact that they actually own those gambling sites. What exactly could you do on there? Well, you were just taking skins that you acquired from Counter-Strike Go, and you would gamble and you could win real money. Well, lawsuits are starting to creep in, and so Valve has made sure that they don't look bad by shutting down 23 of these gambling sites, which of course are all based off of the in-game economies of Counter-Strike Go. Here's what it says in the notice from Counter-Strike, from Valve. We are aware that you are operating one of the gambling sites listed below. You are using Steam accounts to conduct this business. Your use of Steam is subject to the terms of Steam Subscriber Agreement, the SSA. Under the SSA, Steam and Steam services are licensed for personal, non-commercial use only. Your commercial use of your Steam accounts is unlicensed and in violation of the SSA. You should immediately cease and desist further use of your Steam accounts for any commercial purpose. If you fail to do this within 10 days, Valve will pursue all available remedies, including without limitation, terminating your accounts. Okay, here's the thing, guys, and this is just it. I like Valve, okay? I do. I like Steam. Great service. But all of this, it's just such bullshit. I mean, they should be shutting down these sites, of course, but they should have shut them down a long time ago. What were they so busy making Half-Life 3 they didn't notice? Like, oh, hey, someone just created a $2.3 billion industry, and we were just too busy working on games to even recognize that, oh, we're having too many Steam sales. What's that $2.3 billion industry? Oh no, why didn't anybody tell us sooner? Well, it took a bunch of news stories and controversies. That's what finally got the ball rolling. So make no mistake, Valve was well aware of the existence of gambling sites, including CSGO Lotto, which they sent this notice to, and many other sites. But now they're just taking action because they know they're heading to court, and they want to make sure that they have, plausible deniability. But fine, whatever. Toot toot. Speaking of legal issues, according to what's his name, Jean Gillis, he is a Dutch man who created a formula called the Super Formula. He is stating that Hello Games' upcoming title, No Man's Sky, is using his algorithm without his consent. This is actually a pretty significant issue because there was a New Yorker interview in 2015 with Sean Murray, the founder of Hello Games, and one of the developers on No Man's Sky, where they saw him using the Super Formula. They just wrote it into the article because why wouldn't they? It was just happening. I mean, they don't understand how this game is functioning, so like, oh yeah, he's working with something called a Super Formula. Do we have an exact quote from somebody? We don't have an exact quote from anybody. According to Sean Murray, though, he says, that's not actually in the game, so there's no reason for any sort of legal repercussion here. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe it was in the game when they were doing this New Yorker interview last year. Maybe it was in the game, and then over the course of the past 12 months, they somehow developed their very own formula. But it doesn't look very good because the Super Formula was patented all the way back in 2002 in the European Union and 2009 in the United States. Either way, I'm sure Sony is having a small heart attack. Will this prevent the release of No Man's Sky next month? No. No, it's too late. Will this cut into their profits if they are taken into court? Possibly. I mean, they actually have a mention of this in that 2015 story. Doesn't look quite good, but who knows? Maybe they came up with their own super formula. I don't know about that. Toot toot. Overwatch is coming to TBS. Yes, the Turner Broadcasting Station is going to be hosting the grand finales of the Overwatch tournament, which of course you could win up to $100,000 if you're in first place. The event will be taking place on September 30th. This isn't a huge surprise actually, because Activision and Blizzard have had a long relationship with TBS and TNT. You ever wonder why there's so many video game advertisements during the NBA playoffs on TNT? Well, it's because Activision knows that's where there's a lot of eyeballs. So I'm sure after so many years, they were able to work out this deal. I mean, it's only for one night. It's not like they're going to be broadcasting all of the tournament games, which actually started earlier this week. Are people going to tune in to watch this? Maybe. I love Overwatch. I want to make this clear. I adore Overwatch, and a lot of people watch Overwatch videos on YouTube, so there is an audience for the title, but to just sit there and watch it on television, not really. Doesn't really work for me. I'm more into fighting games, personally, which is why I'm excited for the next story, because EVO, this is very, very cool. This is the fighting game tournament. We'll be having an event, where is this? At the Tokyo Games Show. This was announced by Ono, the producer of Street Fighter, and Harada, the producer of Tekken. So you can pretty much assume that Street Fighter and Tekken will be included in this event. It's a beautiful homecoming for EVO in a way, because all the games have come from Japan. Outside of things like, I don't know, Mortal Kombat and Injustice, almost all the games they play come from Japan. And the best players in the world for many, 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 many years came from Japan. And so it's going to be kind of cool to see a little bit of role reversal. Of course, EVO has gone to Japan in the past. This isn't a first by any means, but it's always just cool to see this type of news. Moving on, we have Ubisoft's financial report for the past quarter that ended on June 30th. The craziest bit of news is that 75.3% of the total sales were from digital sales. So only 25%, well, less than 25%, came from physical releases. That's kind of bonkers. Digital net revenue was at $115.4 million, which is bonkers. Once again, sales in general are up by 44%, and they have $153.2 million in net revenue just for the quarter. Not really a big surprise. The Division sold very well. I believe it is still the best-selling game of 2016 so far. It's killing it out there. And you know, The Division is a very smart game. It's basically a third-person Borderlands. It's set in a realistic world. Pretty brilliant. I'm curious to see, despite all these sales, how many players are they retaining right now? I know they're releasing these DLC packs on the Xbox One and PC, and they come to PlayStation 4 later. Be really curious to see how many players are sticking with that series on consoles. Obviously, PC is a different story because they've had so many issues with hackers. But yeah, I mean, it's over 3 million in sales, according to some estimates. They did not release the exact numbers of how many they sold, but that's a juggernaut franchise right now. Also, Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, actually mentioned the Nintendo NX. Here's what he said. On the NX, what we have seen is really great. We think having a new machine coming is going to help the industry to continue to grow and to take a lot more casual players back to the industry. He's talking about how a lot of casual players have kind of moved on to mobile. He's saying this upcoming NX has the potential to bring them back in. And I'll be honest, I'm very excited to see what this console is based off of those comments. Yves is a real smart guy, very smart businessman, but he's also a risk taker. You look at some of the things that Ubisoft puts out, and it's like, really? This giant conglomerate is funding projects like, Valiant Hearts and Rayman Legends? Really? Don't you want to just go for the sure thing and release another Tom Clancy game or another Assassin's Creed title, and they certainly do that. But you know, Yves and Ubisoft have great relationships with platform holders. They always support new consoles. They supported the Wii U a lot when the system came out. They supported the original Wii when it came out. They support Xbox One and PlayStation 4. If you've got a brand new console, the Vita, they're there to support it. So hopefully this means that the NX is something that can appeal to everyone. That's kind of the angle that Nintendo is going for. Also, hopefully it means that it's going to be a powerful system. Keep the dream alive, everybody. Crossy Road developer Hipster Whale has officially become a publisher. They will also make their own games, but they're going to be seeking outside projects to publish. According to the director Andy Sum, we're often approached by other developers asking for help with their titles, and we haven't had the bandwidth to act. Now with our publishing initiative, we have a platform for showcasing some truly great games. I'm a big believer that if you're going to be entering publishing, you need to have several titles that you think are going to hit in a big way. So hopefully that's what they're doing. Because if they're just going to become a publisher and they're just going to put out the news, hey, we're a publisher now, come hang out with us. That's a bad move. You need to have a number of ideas that you think have mass appeal before entering that sphere, because publishing is expensive. So, Hipster Whale, let's see how hipster you can be. I'm expecting some weird vaporwave games coming from you. Moving on to Xbox news, Richard Irving, a Microsoft employee for the past 18 years, has officially left the company to join Hulu. He's going to become the vice president of product management at Hulu, which is kind of cool. His last project was working on the overhaul of the Xbox One dashboard. You know, being with Microsoft for 18 years, I'm sure he's had plenty of stock options. I'm sure he's not hurting for cash. Makes sense that he wants to move on and do different things. I mean, he's working on dashboard updates. How exciting could that be? I mean, really, you're just sitting there like, oh, hold on, we need to make this picture a little bigger. Okay, make that one a little smaller. Okay, add this button icon over here. I mean, I'm sure it's rewarding work in its own right, but it sounds dreadfully dull. Of course he wants to move on to something different, help build something up. So, you know, the update's done. They're just working out the kinks. That's all in, stamping out bugs. Why not go work at Hulu? That sounds fun. You can sit around and watch Family Guy all day. I assume that's what they do at Hulu. But then again, I'm not a very smart person. Now let's go on to another person leaving a company. Dino Patti, the CEO and one of the founders of Playdead, the studio behind Limbo, and of course, Inside, the recently released Inside, is leaving the company. Here's what he had to say. Following almost 10 incredible years building Playdead from an idea to 2 dents in the game industry, I'm leaving to seek new challenges. He helped found the company way back in 2006. Once again, not a huge surprise. Inside is a masterpiece. It's a great game. And it's only 4 hours long, and it took them several years to make it. Can you imagine day in, day out, week after week, month after month, just working on the exact same 4 hours? Sleepless nights, working on the same 4 hours. Early mornings, working on the same 4 hours. So I can't blame him. He's probably burnt out. You know, the game's great, so it's not like it was a bad quality or anything. So, good for him. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. Does he start another company, or does he join up with somebody? Maybe he'll go to EA and start heading the Madden franchise. It's a possibility. Probably the most exciting news of the week, there is going to be a live-action Detective Pikachu movie coming from Legendary Entertainment. Apparently, a lot of people were interested in this project, including Warner Brothers and even Netflix. But yes, Legendary Entertainment is going to be helming that project. It is going to begin production in 2017. This is such a stupid idea. You just know if they release this and it's of okay quality, it's going to hit huge. We're talking about a stupid electric anime rat walking around with a Sherlock Holmes cap trying to solve mysteries. How do you not love that? I mean, he drinks a lot of coffee, and he's always flirting with cute girls, and he's a cute little rat, so it's not creepy or anything. Well, I guess it's still kind of creepy, but it's not as creepy as it could be. You're going to see this all over McDonald's, on cups. You're going to be seeing kids with all the t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Detective Pikachu could become bigger than Pokemon by the end of 2017. Obviously, launching off the success of Pokemon Go, but still, I think that's so amazing. This is what I'm talking about. This isn't really about Nintendo. It's more about the Pokemon Go company, but taking risks with your properties. I know a lot of people get frustrated when they see something come from a franchise they really like that they feel doesn't have enough to do with the series that they love. But this is why you want those weird risks. You never know when you're going to hit gold. And Detective Pikachu, it's adorable, it's interesting, it's stupid. I can't wait to see the movie. Even though I've said on the show in the past that I hate video game movies, this is such an offshoot from the traditional series. If they were announcing a live-action Pokemon movie, I'd be rolling my eyes. Trust me, I'd be like, fuck that. And also the good news is that it means it'll probably come out in the West. We'll actually be able to play Detective Pikachu. Looking forward to it. Speaking of Pokemon, GameStop has been hosting a series of events as of late for Pokemon Go by setting off a number of lure items. Lure? Never know how to pronounce it. Basically, it's a device that allows you to attract lots of Pokemon for a small amount of time. I know that they just announced they're hosting these events, but I've seen this at a bunch of GameStops as of late. It's a great way to get people in the door and hopefully sell them some stuff, upsell them like, hey, you're here for that Pokemon? Well, awesome. Hey, we got tons of Pokemon games right here. Or, hey, you want to buy a new 3DS or whatever? The only downside, of course, is that the dude behind the counter isn't making any money off those sales. So, kind of bullshit, isn't it? Now let's go on to the saddest news of the week. Matilda Rappaport, a professional extreme skier, sadly passed away this week. She was actually making a promotional video for Ubisoft's extreme sports game Steep, which involves snowboarding and skiing down giant mountains. She was caught in the middle of an avalanche and died as a result. Red Bull actually sent out a statement saying Matilda was an extraordinary athlete traveling the world to find her passion, ride steep terrain, and share her bright smile. It's just depressing news. And it just feels stupid, doesn't it? It's like for promoting a video game. And I've seen some people online that saying, she died doing what she loved. Which I always find that statement to just, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better about the situation. It doesn't make the victim feel better. They died doing what they love, getting crushed by a goddamn avalanche. Don't say shit like that. It's stupid. Now, obviously, she was very passionate about what she did, so good for her, but I'm sure she'd be a lot happier about, dying of a natural cause and still skiing, extreme skiing. Very tragic. I have purposely placed this next story after that one so that we can take a hard right and bring the mood back up. There is a Kirby Cafe coming to Japan. In fact, there are planned 3 Kirby Cafes. There are going to be Kirby desserts, and that's basically the entire story, which I can just say, what a dumb idea. Like, what a dumb idea. I wish they would open up a Kirby Cafe near me. And I would prove how stupid it is by going to that Kirby Cafe every day and eating delicious desserts. Just to stick it to them. What a dumb idea it is. And I might even wear a Kirby t-shirt just to show them how dumb of an idea that is. And I would probably tell my friends to meet me at the Kirby Cafe just because it's a dumb idea. And I wouldn't like it at all to eat a dessert in the shape of Kirby. If you're listening, Nintendo, just go ahead and do it so I can show you how stupid it is. Now we have the NPDs for the month of June. What are the best-selling games in North America? What's interesting about this list is it does take into account digital sales. For the very first time in NPD history, here's what we've got. There are some notes as to whether or not they include digital sales. Some do, some don't. I will reference them as we go along here. Number 10 is Minecraft. That does not include digital sales. So even without digital sales, still placing in the top 10. Number 9 is Destiny the Taken King. Number 8 is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 7 is NBA 2K16. Number 6 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. That does not include digital sales. Fun fact, at this point, not including digital sales, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End has already outsold the entirety of Sonic Boom's lifetime sales. So think about that. That's how poorly the Sonic franchise has been selling. I do my research. What can I say? Number 5 is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Probably not doing as well as they hoped, as that is a June release. So that's its debut month, and that is including digital sales. Number 4 is Doom. That does not include digital sales, so doing very well. Number 3 is Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Number 2 is Grand Theft Auto 5. And number 1, the best-selling game of June, is Overwatch. This does not include Battle.net sales, so no PC sales are included, and yet it's still number 1 in North America. Very, very impressive. Let's go to the cursed land of tea and crumpets to find out what are the best-selling games in the UK for the week. NPD does the month. We do the week over here in the UK and Japan. Number 10 is Fallout 4. Number 9 is Rocket League. Number 8 is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 7 is FIFA 16. Number 6 is Doom. Number 5 is Grand Theft Auto 5. Seriously, let's just remark on that real quick. Grand Theft Auto 5 was number 2 in the United States. It's number 5 in the UK. There is no stopping that goddamn game. Number 4 is Overwatch. Number 3 is Monster Hunter Generations. Number 2 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. And number 1 is Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now let's go over to Japan. Let's take the bullet train to find out what are the best-selling games for this week. Number 10 is Kirby Planet Robo. Just really not doing so hot for a Kirby game. Very low sales. Even if it's in the top 10, this is kind of the slow period for Japan. Number 9 is Minecraft Vita Edition. Number 8 is Culticept Revolt on the 3DS. Number 7 is Uppers on the Vita. Number 6 is Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, which is apparently not doing well either. Number 5 is Minecraft on the Wii U. Number 4 is Splatoon, still hanging in there. It's amazing how popular Splatoon is. Of course, the upcoming Splatfest is going to be the final Splatfest for the game. Number 3 is Story of Seasons Trio of Towns on the 3DS. Number 2 is The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the third evolution. And number 1, rightfully taking back the throne, is Yokai Watch 3 Sushi / Tempura! I was so happy about this news that I actually forgot to write down the top 10 best-selling games in Japan. So that's going to have to do it for the Chart Park, the land where money grows on trees. You know, we still have to talk about Pocket Talk. We still have to talk about the Idiot of the Week. We still have to take your emails. So please, 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 stay tuned after this. You know, during the last break, I asked you to go to iTunes and give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a rate review, and I just went and checked, and guess what? It didn't go up at all. No one reviewed it yet. Come on, guys. I'm doing you the favor here. I'm giving you the opportunity to feel good inside. Go to iTunes, give the PRESSURECAST 5 stars and a written review. Do yourself the favor. Come on now. Live life a little bit. Okay, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's time for big news in a small world. That's right, it's time for Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk. Yes, we're going to talk about Pokemon Go. We'll save that for later. There are actually other mobile and handheld bits of news we want to get to first, including the brand new Metroid Blast Ball. Obviously, there's going to be that new Metroid Prime Federation Force that will be out on October 19th. Not many people are feeling too happy about that. So to sort of ease people's pain, they've released this Blast Ball, which is kind of like a soccer game, free on the 3DS. You'll be able to play that, I believe, for a limited amount of time. It is available in North America and Europe right now. This is a very smart move on Nintendo's part. You know, they just released a demo for Star Fox Zero. Yeah, that game that was out a couple of months ago. They just released a demo after it sold so poorly, which is stupid because you actually want to get people to play your game and then buy your game. They're finally getting that right with Metroid Prime Federation Force. They've got all these haters out there saying, all right, you don't think the game's going to be good? We're going to put our money where our mouth is. Play it right now for free. Play this game. You like it? We'll see you at the end of August. Smart move by Nintendo. Square Enix is releasing a brand new RPG exclusively for the Apple Watch. That's right, the game is called Cosmo Rings. And according to a report, I don't know where this came from. Is this Square Enix? This came from somebody. The story takes place in the world of the interval of time where emotions of mankind swirl. The time that has stopped has once again continued to move, and in order to bring back the goddess of time, you'll need to face many human emotions from the interval of time. I don't understand what that means. There's only one screenshot of the game, and it literally looks like Res. You know, it's kind of that weird, just sort of models without any sort of texture. Like sparse 3D models and crazy colors. I don't get it, but at the same time, I'll say kudos to you, Square Enix. Good job. You're actually experimenting, trying new things, making exclusives for weird platforms that aren't even necessarily selling well. So, at the very least, it's something different. But that's where the different things end, because now we have to talk about Pokemon Go. It had a lot of news this week, and it's all positive. It was the most watched game on YouTube. It has doubled the views of Overwatch, which was formerly the number one most watched game. On July 10th, I want you to really listen to this. On July 10th, that day, Pokemon Go accounted for 47% of all in-app game purchases. 47% of all in-app game purchases. This is a huge market, and it nearly accounted for half. You know they're making an insane amount of money on this. There's really nothing more to say. I don't really want to talk about Pokemon Go. Not because I hate it or anything, but because that's all you hear about now is Pokemon Go this, Pokemon Go that. Is it a fad? Of course it is. It's going to dip eventually, but in the meantime, Niantic and the Pokemon Go company, and by virtue of that, Nintendo, are making a hell of a lot of cash. And that's going to do it for Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk, Pocket Talk. I know mobile games are huge, but man, Pokemon Go is something else. It really is. Hopefully Nintendo is taking note of this and restructuring how they're going to approach game development. I know what you're thinking. Don't do that. Please don't make, Mario on a phone. Why not? It'll make them tons of cash, and they can put that investment back into developing games on their consoles. Why not? Maybe it means they'll take more risks. Why not? Whatever. Now, normally we talk about the idiot of the week, but I'm afraid we're not going to do that this week because we have to talk about the good guy of the week. This good guy is a man from California who has been sending death threats to Blizzard. He even sent them some emails saying he may or may not pay a visit with an AK-47 amongst some other fun tools. Might be inclined to cause a disturbance at the headquarters in California with an AK-47 and a few other opportunistic tools. May or may not. Well, he's certainly gone to jail right now, and he may or may not have a 5-year prison sentence and may or may not have $250,000 in fines to pay. So why is this guy the good guy of the week? Well, we hear about all these mass shootings that take away dozens of lives. Even if they take away one life, that's a horrible, horrible thing to occur. This is the good guy of the week because, hey, he sent out the notices in advance. Like, hey, come arrest me in advance. You don't wait for the guns to start shooting. Don't wait for me to kill anybody. Just arrest me beforehand. Here's my intention. This is like Minority Report, that old movie where they can predict the future. Thank you, would-be mass shooter, for telling everyone what you were going to do. I think we need to get this guy's face on CNN and MSNBC and all the news cycles. I want nonstop coverage of this guy because that's how you become a celebrity if you want to be a mass shooter. You don't kill anybody anymore. You say you're going to do it. That would be wonderful. Instead of having these douchebags go out there and take away people's lives, I am all for this. 110%. Love it. Please, future mass shooters, would-be mass shooters, just say, here I am. Take me to jail. Sounds perfect. So, psychopath, you are the good guy, thank you very much, of the week. Didn't kill anybody. Fantastic. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. He's going to be on the list for the rest of his life. Thank God. Thank God. Beautiful. Adore it. Well, now it's time for the part of the show where we listen back to the listeners, where the viewers tell us what's what, and a little thing we like to call Thank You for the Email. This week's Thank You for the Email is, of course, the one, the only, the wonderful Keon. He has a question about Rise of the Tomb Raider coming to PlayStation 4. Take it away, Keon.
Hey, what's going on, PRESSURECAST crew? How's it going for you guys? This is Keon calling from Baltimore. I just had a quick question for you guys. Now, we know that Tomb Raider has finally been announced. It's official that it's coming out on the PlayStation 4 on October 11th. Now, we know that most games, when they come out a year later on the other console, they really kind of lose their buzz. They're not, it's not as hype. People aren't as excited for it. I wanted to know that since in this package, this Tomb Raider package, that they're, I believe, calling the 20-year celebration edition, they're actually including some really cool stuff in here, some extra modes in there that were never released on the Xbox One version or PC version, and they're even adding a VR mode into the game. It's actually a portion for that, along with something that's called Laura's Nightmares, which is set in the Croft Mansion, I believe, and it's kind of like a zombie mode. So, with all of that being said, I just wanted to know, do you guys think that this game will sell well on the PlayStation 4 a year later, since the package that they're giving is a pretty hefty package? Now, I don't know how much this is going to be. I'm sure that will play into, whether or not people buy it. But I just wanted to know, do you guys think that Tomb Raider could be that one game that a year later has strong legs and has great sales? With that being said, thank you guys. Thank you, Colin, for all of the hard work that you do along with your partner. It's truly appreciated. And with that being said, and once again, thank you guys for always answering my questions. I really thank you guys for that. And I guess with that, I'm going to get off this phone. So you guys take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Keon, thank you for the email. By the way, Keon, you keep saying thank you. You said thank you like 5 times in that message. That's my gimmick. I'm the one that says thank you. You should, you need to go heel, like full heel on here, and start saying you're welcome. If you know pro wrestling, I'd say you're definitely going to need to have some sort of like Damien Sandow gimmick. You're welcome for the email. That's what everyone should say. In fact, if everyone writes an email and ends it with that on Twitter or on through the voicemail or on Gmail, that's fine. Go for it. The links to actually send a question are in the description below, so check those out. But let's focus on Keon's wonderful question. How is Rise of the Tomb Raider going to perform on the PlayStation 4? It's a decent question. Because after all, it came on the Xbox One, and that pissed a lot of people off. In fact, I've heard some people saying, I don't care. When it comes to the PlayStation 4, I'm not going to buy it, just to send them a message. And I'm sure they'll notice. I'm sure they'll notice that message. Because this game is going to sell very well this fall. Why? Well, it is called, the 20th anniversary. It's very much taking its past with PlayStation and putting it on the front of the box. Speaking of the box, by the way, someone over at Naughty Dog pointed out that the Rise of the Tomb Raider PlayStation 4 box looks identical to Uncharted 4. So, there's that. But look at Uncharted 4, all right? That was a series that, historically hasn't sold tremendously well, but the fourth entry is doing great on the PlayStation 4. A lot of people are making that comparison between Tomb Raider and Uncharted. I'm confident that audience will go and pick up a copy of Rise of the Tomb Raider if they haven't already on the Xbox One. The idea that it's this 20th anniversary, that's a really special moment for the franchise. It's one of the biggest franchises that's ever existed. Just talking off of name recognition. Remember the game Doom that came out, last month? It did very well. You know why it did well? Because people recognized the name Doom. The PlayStation 4, it's got a ton of users. When they see the name Tomb Raider, especially after that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 2013 game, they're definitely going to pick this up. And there's all these bonus features that I'm sure are going to persuade those hardcore PlayStation fans that we're going to not buy it because it was an exclusive on the Xbox One. I mean, that's just it. That blows my mind. When people say, oh, you know, it's an exclusive, so I'm not going to bother with it, even if it comes to my platform. You're being a baby. You're being a big, big baby. There's no excuse for that. You're not going to buy it because they finally released it on your console. You're like, no, it's exclusive. I'm not going to bother playing it on some console I don't even own. Oh, and now it's on the console that I own? Well, I'm not going to buy it out of principle. Principle of what? It's smart business. That's why they do these types of things. But regardless, exclusives for lower selling consoles do well on higher selling consoles. Case in point, Resident Evil 4 was released to the GameCube as a timed exclusive. How did it do there? Did okay. Just like Rise of the Tomb Raider, it did okay. And then when it came to the PlayStation 4, it did a hell of a lot better. And that's really where most people played Resident Evil 4. Was it better on GameCube? Yeah, but it didn't matter. That's just where more people were. So I really believe Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be one of the best-selling games of the year. No question. Because, you know, the reviews are already out there. People can look up the reviews on the Xbox One version. I have said this many times. It is one of the best games I've ever played. I love the story. I love the voice acting. The graphics are gorgeous. The gameplay is great. In fact, I think if you're a fan of Uncharted 4, you're really going to love this. It's far less linear. You know, Uncharted 4, there's a very specific path they want you to go. I mean, obviously that's what all games are. But Rise of the Tomb Raider is a lot more open. The environments are just bigger. And it's just, god damn, that game looks good. So is it going to do well? I think so, because you put up a few advertisements on TNT or whatever. Just let the people know Tomb Raider, this brand that you know and love, is back. And it's bigger than ever. It's going to sell fantastic. And I honestly think it'll actually increase sales on the Xbox One. There might be people that even forgot or didn't know that Rise of the Tomb Raider was out on Xbox One. It's a great game. So Keon, I'm going to have to say, yeah, it's going to do great. And I'm also going to have to say, thank you for the email. Remember, email pressurecast@gmail.com, tweet at pressurecastpod with the hashtag pressurecast, or even call or text 954-947-7377. We have finally reached the part of the show where we take a look back at the week that was 10 years ago and beyond in something we like to call Strong History. Now, last week we had a news story in Strong History, which is very rare. We don't often cover any sort of news stories in Strong History, but we are once again going to be doing that this week because the former chief Xbox officer, Robbie Batch, has confirmed that at one point there was a handheld Xbox in development. According to Mr. Batch, they weren't sure how they were going to play a part of the ecosystem. We just couldn't focus. We did not have the bandwidth, but he says there were definitely drawings. So they didn't get too far in development. But I remember, and I bet a lot of you guys do too, around 2003, 2004, there were a lot of rumors of Xbox joining, handhelds. Because that's just how handhelds worked. I mean, you look at, Neo Geo Pocket. Well, there's the Neo Geo. They made a Pocket version. You look at the Game Gear. Well, Sega makes, systems, so they have to make a handheld. You look at the PSP. It's like, well, Sony makes home consoles. I guess they have to make a handheld. It was a foregone conclusion that at some point or another there was going to be an Xbox handheld. And I remember seeing a lot of rumors about it being something more traditional, like a Game Boy, to something really high-tech and focused, to something that was like a branded laptop. Nothing came to fruition. I'm not sure what those rumors were actually discussing, because according to Batch, that there were only really drawings about it. But you have to take it back to that time and place. This was the era where they had announced the DS, and a lot of people thought, well, that's it for Nintendo. I mean, look at the GameCube. It's not selling very well, and now they're going to release this stupid toy. And then you look at the PSP, and it's like, well, this is the bleeding edge of technology. This is fantastic. A widescreen handheld. This is before a lot of people had HD TVs. A widescreen handheld. That's the way to go. That's the future. And so many people just expected that Xbox would try to compete with PlayStation in the handheld ecosystem, much like they did with the console ecosystem. But it never happened. And obviously, many analysts were wrong. The DS dominated that generation. Dominated it. Introduced, touchscreen games, which, look at Pokemon Go. Would that be possible without the DS? It's questionable. Where would phones be without touchscreens? The DS really introduced that concept to everyone. Frankly, I mean, unless you owned a Newton back in the day, that was probably the first time you owned a touchscreen device. And as for the PSP, it sold okay in the United States, far better in Japan, modest success. But yes, there was a time when we almost had an Xbox handheld. I guess we're never going to be able to take Blinks the Time Sweeper cat on the go. Time Weeper, that's more like it, because they haven't made a Blinks game in 10 years. We're all weeping for that cat with his time travel abilities. But let's get on to the list. Here are the anniversaries we'll be experiencing this week. 10 years ago on the PSP, this is hard for me to believe, Tekken Dark Resurrection was released. This is one of the best 3D fighting games on a portable. It controls fantastic. You can actually play it on the Vita, and it holds up to this day. It's classic Tekken in the palm of your hands. 11 years ago on the GameCube, Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life. And on the Game Boy Advance, Harvest Moon, More Friends of Mineral Town. That's right, they had two Harvest Moon re-releases. That is, talking about phoning it in on two separate platforms. Just incredible. But they are good games. I'm not going to take that away from them, but it's just, what a dick move to release an update a year later. 12 years ago, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Bujinge. We'll go with Bujinge? The Forsaken City on the PlayStation 2 was released. I am not sure if my memory is correct, but I think I played this game for like 2 hours, thought it was terrible, and never touched it again. But many regard it as a hidden classic of the PlayStation 2 generation, which there are a lot of great games on the PlayStation 2, so if people are saying this, take their word over mine, because I don't honestly remember it. 14 years ago on the Xbox, Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller was released. It was an Xbox exclusive for some time before being released on the PC. This is a really underrated Crazy Taxi game, or just an underrated game in general, because it included the world of Crazy Taxi 1 and 2, and you can play Crazy Taxi 1 with the jumping mechanics of Crazy Taxi 2, and Crazy Taxi 3 takes place in Las Vegas. I think it's the second best in the series, far better than Crazy Taxi 2, which is an awful game. Crazy Taxi 3 just sort of, it kept the spirit of keeping the jump button, but also having just a more fun layout instead of having all these dumb, tall buildings blocking everywhere you go. I would be very curious to hear about the development of Crazy Taxi 2. I have no idea why they made that. 15 years ago, Pokemon Crystal Edition was released on the Game Boy Color. Many people say that's their favorite version of Pokemon, period. 15 years old. Next year, it can legally drive a car. 18 years ago, Rival Schools was released in Japan. One of my all-time favorite fighting games. Adore it. 19 years ago, Albert Odyssey was released on the Sega Saturn in the United States. One of the best RPGs on the Sega Saturn. That's saying a lot. Has a ton of great working design RPGs. 20 years ago, Tecmo's Deception Invitation to Darkness was released on the PlayStation. This was a really interesting strategy game where basically people enter your house, you have to set up traps, and you have to kill them. They've been releasing games, still to this day, but all of them have kind of taken on a more, I don't want to say happy, but more kind of friendly anime aesthetic. And I really feel like this original Deception game was just very dark, very, very dark. But as the series has gone on, it's kind of lost its way. 21 years ago in Japan, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 was released. It is a horrible, absolutely miserable 2D fighting game. Not a fan at all. I'm not. Just no good. but people paid a lot of money to import that game, and eventually was released in the United States, I think, in like 2000, 5 years after it was released. So as underwhelming as it was in 95, it was even more underwhelming in 2000. 21 years ago, King of Fighters 95 was released in the arcade, which is kind of cool. 23 years ago, Echo the Dolphin was released on the Sega Genesis. This is one of those games that I never understood what I was doing, so I'd have to use cheat codes. And let me tell you, Echo the Dolphin, very, very ambitious game, very creative game. Is it great? In some ways, it's really fun to swim around as a dolphin. But by using those cheat codes, everything was out of context, and that game goes some bonkers places. Like, you go to the last stage, you're fighting alien squids, and you're blasting them away with your sonar blast. It's crazy. Is it worth playing? Yeah, why not? It's kind of a fun game. 25 years ago in Japan, UN Squadron was released on the Super Nintendo, one of the best shoot-'em-ups on the platform, and one of the best shoot-'em-ups of all time. Just fantastic. 27 years ago in Japan, Mother was released on the Famicom, which is now known as Earthbound Beginnings, because of course they re-released it on the Virtual Console. Not a great way to play it. I would recommend purchasing Earthbound Beginnings on the Virtual Console, give them the money, and then go download the Game Boy Advance Japanese release only Earthbound 1 and 2 with the English translation. Earthbound 1 is a little too hard for me. I'm sorry, Mother 1 is a little too hard for me. And when someone translated the game, they also gave you an item called the Easy Ring, which allows you to progress much faster. And I think that's really the way to play Mother 1 or the very first Earthbound. 28 years ago, Super Dodgeball was released on the Famicom. If you've never played Super Dodgeball, it's essentially a game where you play as different countries, different teams from different countries. You play dodgeball and you perform insane moves, like you're jumping in the air and just spiking a ball, and it hits the ground so hard it takes out 3 people, and they literally die. Their ghosts escape their body and go up to heaven. Such a fun game. One of my all-time favorites. And of course, it featured the characters from Kunio-kun, so the River City Ransom guys, as well as Crash and the boys. Highly recommend you check out Super Dodgeball. Still holds up to this day. Get a buddy and play that game. And play as Russia. They hit super hard. 29 years ago, on the PC, NetHack was released. A very, 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 very early rogue type game. Not a rogue-like, but a rogue type, which had a lot of ASCII keys everywhere. And people still play it to this day, so it's held in high regard. And lastly, 38 years ago, Koei was founded. Yes, Koei. You might know them for Nobunaga's Ambition, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, and so many other games. Founded 38 years ago. I tried looking up some information on it, and it's kind of all over the place. So I recommend that you check out an episode of Game Center CX, in which the guy actually goes and visits Koei and learns about the history of Koei. This is before they merged with Tecmo, which is what they are now. They're Koei Tecmo. And from all accounts, for a long time, that company just produced dye to dye wool. They made colors. That's why the logo looks like that. And when the son took over the business, he was like, okay, we're profitable here, but I really want to make video games. And he sat down and he created Nobunaga's Ambition, which was just a very slow strategy game. Had an in-game economy, sort of like Sim City, and still had battles in it. And it was a huge hit in Japan. And from there, went on to make Romance of the Three Kingdoms, even bigger hits. And then obviously, now we have things like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors, which are just beloved franchise. Koei doesn't get a whole lot of love. People just go, oh, they re-released the exact same thing over and over again. Well, that's fine. Everyone does something different. I think the games are still quality. But at the end of the day, when you look at the influence their titles have had to Japanese culture, it's undeniable. They're one of the all-time greats. They're really, truly one of the all-time greats. They were making adult games, while there were a lot of kid games going around. Not dissing kid games. I like kid games, but they were going for a very different audience, and their influence can still be felt to this day. But that's going to have to do it for Strong History. All right, this has been an interesting week. Next week, I think we're going to be having someone on the show, so it won't just be me rambling to you, which is good news. But I think this was fun. I hope you had fun. But it is time to close out the show. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Cryachop. That's at Dr. Cryachop. You can go to youtube.com/videogamesardumb. This week I'll have an episode of Worth It about I Am Setsuna. So please look forward to my review. Please look forward to E3. What else is going to be going on this week? I'm not sure. I'll have more stuff. Just stay tuned. It's summer. What do you expect? It's not easy trying to figure out what's going on. You know, some of the games, they're 40 hours long. I don't have time to beat them. Some of the games are shorter, and so I can make an episode of Worth It. I can't wait for fall because I can finally get back to just doing a more regular schedule. But yes, you know, summer will end eventually, and then fall will come and slowly but surely kill nature as it does every year. But fear not, because it can't kill the Pressure Cast, because the Pressure Cast is forever. See you guys. PRESSURECAST, weekly video game news podcast, is solely owned and operated by Colin Tanner. Guests of the PRESSURECAST are not employees or freelancers of Colin Tanner, the PRESSURECAST, or VideoGamesAreDumb.com, and are not paid. Music featured on the PRESSURECAST is property of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended. For more information, email pressurecast@gmail.com.